What's going on? It's Keinan Briggs, sports consultant and mentor. Two things I want to address. First thing is plastic boards. Let's stop buying plastic boards, and here's why. As you can see, this board has a lot of indentations in it. It's pretty old. It's got to be at least 2 years old, maybe even more. And so when an athlete runs with the correct spikes in their shoe, it's going to grip the plastic and be fine. The issue with that is the plastic is harder. It's a harder surface. So the plastic board actually wears down the aluminum spikes or metal spikes, whatever they use, faster. So that's the first issue. So now once those spikes are worn down, you're then going to have less grip and ability to grab the board, which leads to slipping. And that's what's happening here. You see a lot of longer marks, and that is an issue. When athletes slip, their knee is very susceptible to injury, hyperextension, and worst case scenario, any type of ACL, MCL, and etc. Okay. So now let's say an athlete has the correct sharp spikes in, but they're jumping with sprint spikes. Now with sprint spikes, if they're wearing the correct sprint spikes and jumping, they're going to end up hitting the board with the plastic bottom of their spike, then hitting this plastic board. When you combine those two, another slip. So to minimize the slipping, we want to make sure that these boards are wooden. When they're wooden, they're going to wear faster. However, you're going to replace them more often, and it's pretty cheap, pretty inexpensive to make that happen. And I'll make another video to explain that process, because a lot of coaches know about this process already. So make sure you're jumping from a wooden board and go from there, and there's ways to make it yourself. The next thing is, as you can see, this pit is low. It's a low pit. Now, my suggestion is to make sure that we're using flat level pits. So this is the traditional long jump pit where it had a covers over it, as you can see where the covers are sitting. Now, what happens is when you have it flat, you have to have sand taken out, which means the pit is lower than it should be. Okay. Now, what you want to do is use the sand on the outside. A lot of schools have this. You take the sand from here and put it in here so it's flat. However, you can't make it flat when you put the covers on, so you're going to have to get a tarp that covers it up. So these are the two things to make sure that we're using. Put the sand inside the pit, make it flat and even, so we're getting most consistent marks, because what typically happens is athletes jump further at these meets with lower pits and they're getting better marks. So just as we don't allow wind over 2.1, we should also not allow certain marks to be accepted for meets that have and utilize low pits. So with that being said, let's keep our track and field safe, and let's keep our event fair and everyone doing the best they can and enjoying their experience. Till next time.